Hey everybody, it's John Pollock with you here from The Law Live Audio Wrestling, and it's a pleasure to be joined here in studio by a man that everyone aware of, Sebastian Suave of Smash Wrestling, the man who's been running Smash Wrestling since 2012. Some big news recently, launching on the Fight Network, which you can now catch Smash Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. They've also got a show coming up on Sunday, August the 13th, Super Showdown V, happening at the Phoenix Concert Theater. Sebastian, it's a pleasure to have you here in studio, and congratulations. I know that you have been in talks with the Fight Network for a long time, and it's been a great reception thus far to the show and people that have been checking out the show now that we're 2 episodes in.
Absolutely, and honestly, I've touched on this before. Any opportunity I've had to talk about the debut. In hindsight, looking back, I was always a little, I wouldn't say frustrated, but it's the reality of the situation. I had my talk with you at first about what would it take to get Smash Wrestling on Fight Network, and I always said, my wrestling school back in the day was BSC Pro. They were on. Why did they not maintain that standard? What was it? And we talked about production and all that. And back then, you eventually see companies like Impact and Ring of Honor make it to Fight Network. I'm not bitter in a bad way, but it's the small guy mentality, right?
Sure.
I'm not a multi-million-dollar company. I'm the small guy scratching and clawing my way up, and I have to be more patient. So at first, it was a little frustrating, but it was a blessing in disguise, because I think you being on the in can agree, because you know what's going on right now with Fight Network, there wouldn't be a better time for us to start than now, as opposed to, let's say, 1 or 2 years ago when I was scratching for that opportunity. We get to air after Impact, which was something we couldn't have done a year or two ago, possibly. And we get to use Impact talent on TV, which is surreal and something I wouldn't think would be possible. And our company has grown to a point where we are running shows out of the Phoenix Concert Theater. We're running out of the London Music Hall. These are incredible venues. Our presentation and production has reached an impressive level, and this has truly been the right time, right place, right scenario for us. So, and everyone knows that Fight Network's wrestling content right now is at an impressive level, which it's, if you think about it, we're airing on Thursday night after Impact, and we have a rerun on Tuesday nights in a great slot at 8 p.m. between a lot of high standard and well-known companies across the world. So that's something our team noticed right away. This is the right time, the right situation, and we couldn't be happier.
Well, I think it was just, to me, when I look at Smash Wrestling, if nothing else, it's any promotion can come along and make a big splash, but where are they going to be in 6 months, a year, 2 years? You guys are running consistently. You're always bringing in unique performers. You've got tremendous local flavor. I think Southern Ontario has such a wealth of talent, and you're mixing it all together. And I'm watching these shows, and you look at maybe the gold standard for an independent promotion. Maybe you're looking at a PWG. To me, I look at Smash Wrestling as something that has just the same buzz, and just some are not aware of it outside of Ontario or that are traveling to shows. And it's just kind of getting that spotlight on it, that you guys have built something where it's taken those years to get that identity, where you say Smash Wrestling, people know what that show entails, what the identity of the promotion is, and that does take a while.
Absolutely, and this is something I was a little more humble at beginning about, but now it's not being cocky, it's being very proud of what we've achieved. When you work so hard, you will acknowledge the acknowledgements that you've received. And it wasn't 1 or 2 major successes, but we've run events where guys from, whether it's the WWE or Impact or Ring of Honor in Japan or some of the top independent guys, put us over as the place to be. What we've done with our women's division with Rosemary and Ali was put on the forefront of the wrestling scene on the day that they finally had their encounter. And you have all these wrestlers, all these female wrestling promoters tagging us on social media and wishing these two the best of luck. We have people from Japan and the Bullet Club reaching us sometimes, asking for bookings and saying, hey, our friends work for you. They said nothing but great stuff. We'd love to work. And you have the Young Bucks, without asking us for a favor, us trying to give them the VIP treatment, saying these guys are the PWG of the north of Canada.
Yeah.
And there's so many situations like this that have accumulated, and yeah, like you said, it's built us that reputation and buzz, and a lot of it has also come from the fans, from our peers, the success we had with our Progress joint shows, which was an idea of mine. Those shows and how we've lived up to the expectations, and a lot surrounding that weekend, and the hype to it and the aftermath. It really, again, was another stepping stone where people can look at why Smash, why is it different? And that's been kind of my goal from the beginning, and it's something that our team has done very well. Yeah, you can have the best wrestlers, or you can put on a crazy show, but and I say this without trying to sound negative, everyone can do that. Well, what's different about Smash? Okay, the live atmosphere, the venue, okay, the roster is so unique. The matchups they do, which is a big part. We don't just try to put the best matchup, we really try to put a unique matchup. Like we talked off air, Bobby Lashley versus Mike Bailey is something you just won't see anywhere else. And we've done that even with some of our divisions, focusing on really pushing tag team wrestling and women's wrestling. And that's where people can say, man, I haven't seen a good tag team division somewhere, a good women's division, and it piques interest. The Canusa Classic, the annual Canada versus USA tournament featuring the women, that's something that truly you won't see anywhere else. And the cross-promotional shows was a result of me seeing, and again, I don't mean it negatively, but our market was at time emulating us, and or just maybe it was a natural fallout, but we're like, again, how do we stand out? That has always been the goal. And we're like, well, what if we do some cross-promotional shows? Okay, we'll work with CZW and a Versus show. We'll bring in Chikara. We'll bring in Progress. And What Culture had their World Cup with 8 different countries. And we took advantage of being the host there. And now we have our guys on the forefront. And we're running a show with some of their talent. And again, now we're bringing in new fans, and we're exposing our fans to a new audience. And it's always been about trying to provide something unique. And it has generated that buzz and that identity. Because at the end of the day, to wrap it up, I'm not sure if you remember, there was this thing Beyond Wrestling out of the U.S. They took all the top independents and they ran a Raw alternative show. Here's a focus on all the top indies. And what we learned from that is people really were receptive to us just as much as any other company, because we had something different. And for us, it's not trying to be the top independent. We're like, well, if I'll use Progress as an example. A wrestling fan can only watch so much wrestling within a week. You got the Raw, SmackDown, Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan's hot right now, the whole UK scene. But as much as people like a lot of the top indies in the US, Progress is their UK company. They're like, man, I watch this, and this, but Progress is my UK wrestling. Well, we want to be people's Canadian wrestling. So based on the guys we bring out of Montreal and Ottawa, and that we're able to grab out of Cleveland and Buffalo and Philly and mix them up with the Ontario guys, you're getting so many unique matches you can't see anywhere else. Or the way we've developed our own stars like Kevin Bennett and Rosemary and Tarek. So although we provide top-notch wrestling, that's not our selling point to people. That's just a standard. It has to be there. It has to be at that level. We offer something unique, and people like Smash Wrestling, that's my Canadian company.
What's the key to working with outside promotions? Like sometimes that can be logistically just a lot more difficulties when you have 2 people that are used to running their own shows. What have those experiences been like?
Every relationship is different, but fortunately, they all worked out very smoothly. I think one thing I didn't plan on going in, but I found out quickly, is we have a good reputation. All 4 or 5 of those cross-promotional efforts, and right now, even coming up, we have a partnership with a company out of Montreal and one out of the Maritimes. So whether it's doing cross-promotional shows or us just being guests of their shows or getting an opportunity to film for TV in those markets, those companies, those promoters, and the previous ones I mentioned, they've all said, we've heard good things about you. You have a great reputation. That was one thing I was very humbled with What Culture. They're like, we've heard nothing. When we finished our deal, and I thanked them, they said, you guys were the most professional company we've ever worked with, and you definitely lived up to the reputation and all the praise that I've heard from other people about you. And I was like, oh, people have spoken highly of us, and these guys say we've lived up to that expectation. So one thing I never prepared for was our reputation, which kind of I'm glad we always carried ourselves with to a high standard, but it's nice refresher that, hey, continue to be a pro and to treat talent and the diehard fans and just even the way you present yourself or carry yourself on social media or in interviews, you set an expectation, it may open doors. But it's all about, I think, if you show interest in respecting your counterpart's interest, because at the end of the day, when two companies work together, it's for both companies to benefit. If you show them respect, if you create opportunities for them to benefit and help cater to their goals, they'll show it in return.
Does that make you at all, when you've kind of built up this reputation and you have that, and it's very evident with your fan base as well, it's a very inclusive space that you want it to be open to all walks of life that might come to your shows. When you're booking certain talent, are you kind of mindful of that as well, of who we want in our locker room? Do you at all overthink that?
I don't overthink that for them as characters, as I think wrestling is a melting pot of diversity. You can get guys and the girls, the tall guys, the short guys. We're very edgy and trendy, but at the same time, we have guys who have old school characters or an old school style. I mean, Tyson Dukes will wrestle in All Japan Kingsway style, and mind you, he can adapt to anything. But we got a lot of guys who bring that variety. But when it comes to the locker room's personalities, the backstage stuff fans aren't savvy to, yes, that's something I've put a priority on, and I was very glad that a lot of wrestlers that are our regulars or that come in have always praised you have one of the best locker rooms. There's no politics in your locker room. Everyone's everyone's out there for each other. And one thing that I'm very proud of is I've been in a lot of locker rooms as a wrestler myself, and sometimes it's not that staff gets slighted, but people don't really know their name, or they're like, hey man, it's just the camera guy. But a lot of our locker room know our staff on a first name basis. After shows, they go out for beers with them. They've shared hotel rooms with them on the road, and part of that is I think people have seen the value of our team. They've respected what they bring to the table. They see how hard they work. They see what our editor does. They see what our content director does. For example, James Key, which you met today.
Yes.
He will pitch ideas for those promos in the direction, and he's helped develop some of the characters. And people are like, hey, this is just not some fan. This is a guy who's pouring his heart into this company, and he has great ideas. And I think there's a mutual respect. And for my worry was always like, I'll use one guy, Braxton Sutter is a guy that no matter where he's gone to Impact, he's always worth the price because he knows every member of my staff. He respects everyone. He works wonderful with every single wrestler. Everyone's like, man, he's the best guy. And I see how much the rest of the locker room likes him, and I see how much our fans take to him. And that is an intangible at first I never truly understood or appreciated, but I'm glad that I always prioritized it. People like that you got to have around, and it creates it's overused in pro sports, but culture. But really, we've developed a culture of good brothers and good sisters, and people like being at Smash, and they and that's something that I think no one will truly see other than myself and the people in the locker room. But it's really valued, and I think it's a very integral part of who we are.
When you look at where the scene is today, is this kind of what you envision? Because it's going through this massive boom at the moment. And I specifically remember talking to you years ago where you talked about wanting to book people that are going to create that buzz that maybe don't have a giant spotlight on them. Who are the next ones in line to become those big stars? And it feels as though that vision has kind of played itself out.
I could not foresee. I don't think anyone could foresee how the industry has turned out with, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but WWE and any other companies have pillaged the independent scene, and I don't mean in a bad way. It's beneficial for on so many fronts. The fans are exposed to greater wrestlers. As a result of so many of these wrestlers getting signed, there's been a culture shift in whether it's a stylistic standpoint in your in-ring performance or what's accepted. I mean, everyone knows this, but 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't see Kevin Owens in the WWE with maybe a t-shirt probably. And now, rightfully so, he's at the forefront of that company as not just a quality guy that's valued in the ring, but on the mic and his work ethic on the business side. It's great. But So it benefits the fans watching it benefits the mainstream companies. It to some extent, it may benefit the independents because, in general, it benefits them because now the independents are getting a lot of credit for some of these top guys that have made it. The one challenge is that the independent promotions are going to suffer a bit from it because, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I know this from Smash Wrestling standpoint. I know this from my market in Ontario and Eastern Canada, and speaking with a lot of other promoters stateside, I know that the independents got to a point where there was 5-6 true needle movers at some point 2 years ago or so. It was the Kevin Owens, the AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, the Young Bucks. There's some markets, some small towns. Yeah, you're bringing some guys. The draw goes huge, but if you wanted to provide premium wrestling, these were the 5-6 guys that would truly give you a return on your investment. Beyond that, when you bring in some names, sure, the crowd may go up a bit, but you're not getting all your money back from where you would have drawn versus what you got. It's the reason a company like myself would get these guys is because you're setting expectations, you're creating a brand identity, you're bringing a show from, let's say, B+ to A+, and over time, that's why your draw grows, because you keep bringing people like this. But over the course of one show, you wouldn't generally see a return on investment unless you got guys like that. So we were always trying to keep an eye on, did Chris Hero get released? We have to make this work one way or another. Same thing with AJ Styles. But once every single one of these guys got signed, there are no needle movers. And then you go to the second tier, and then all the second tier guys got signed because WWE grew this incredible development. And in my eyes, it's just my opinion, they're willing to grab 20 guys in case one or two of them turn out to be CM Punk or Daniel Bryan because that is a return on their investment. And to be honest, for the other 18 guys, if they get a few years out of them, or if it's they're just stalwarts at NXT, it's still a return on their investment. And as a result of that, now any of the other companies of television have to react. We've seen that New Japan has reacted to how WWE has signed it to guys. You see it with other companies. Ring of Honor has always been a wonderful place that has had guys bloom, become true stars, and have gone to WWE. So they've had to react to all that. And that's just par on course, right? It works down the chain. And where we're down on that ladder, we've had to react. So the challenge becomes the next guys on that independent scene, they become the new Kevin Owens, but they won't give you the return that a Kevin Owens could. You may get the in-ring performance, and that's where we've had to adjust possibly on how we spend our money, why we spend our money, how we draw, and we combated that with some of those cross-promotional shows where if there isn't a Young Bucks or a Samoa Joe available for us, well, what about a company? It's not the wrestler that's the draw. Well, that's where we did stuff like Progress versus Smash. And yeah, it was like, not to ramble on about it, but yeah, so the independent scene has greatly changed, but it's affected how every line has worked. So how the WWE will react, how a company like a Ring of Honor will react, and how companies like myself have to react. And there was an adjustment period that was challenging because you can't adjust to all that and how you operate as a business over one or two shows. Yeah,
there's definitely the one side where certainly the WWE's viewpoint of what a star can be, it's greatly expanded. I mean, it's incredible over the last number of years. And there is a negativity to that on your side. I would say on the other side of the coin today, I was talking about this earlier this week because the Kevin Steen documentary just came out, and they're talking about the big four-way that Generico, XS, Sexy Eddie had in CZW. That was 2004, where a career-changing match like that, it might take somebody in Canada months to get the DVD of that. Today, someone that has a breakout performance, you can almost see it within 24 hours. Is it an easier jump now for a guy to get that kind of buzz that's hopefully going to propel him to be in a bigger position?
I'll give you one example to extend on that. Sammy Callahan was at our show, and he ran a seminar. And mind you, it's not the only way, but he was trying to make a point. He's like, today in wrestling, if you want to make it, you got to be giftable. And anyone who's following the independents, or even following, to be honest, even like a Ring of Honor in Japan, gifts are hot, gifts are accessible. We live in a day with social media content that it's you can't it's not your full match that's going to get it. You're going to see clips of Okada and Omega before you actually see the full match. You're going to see people put some GIFs from that match online. You're going to see that 1 minute clip of the finish. And I mean, a lot of people may have paid for the match. A lot of people may have eventually watched it, but a great majority of people have seen that short social media content before they committed to watching the full thing or committed to paying their money. I mean, there's a ripple effect where eventually people are like, yeah, you know what? I saw one or two of those GIFs. I ended up watching the YouTube match from New Japan's channel, and then eventually like, I'm giving New Japan my money. I'm buying Kenny Omega's merch now. But it started with those GIFs. And when he said that, it was really smart. And it doesn't mean you go out there and do a stupid move or die just to get on a GIF. But the idea is this is the culture we live in. It's beyond wrestling. And social media is more important than ever. And a big part of live events like wrestling and sports is something that I always remembered. With the transition we've had with Netflix and pre-recording shows, people typically don't need to watch a show live, except sports and wrestling to an extent, because people don't want to, I mean, you may not want to watch the Leafs game a week later, right? And you want to watch it live.
Sure.
People see the results that night. They want to talk about it after the game. And the same thing goes for wrestling. People want to watch a pay-per-view, or they want to watch that Okada Omega match. They want to kind of watch it the night of, or a few days later, or a week later. Some people will watch it 3 months later, but the value is in where the discussion is and where it's a hot topic and where the buzz is. And that's where stuff like social media and the GIFs are very important. It's especially more so on the independent scene, where you're trying to make your name, as you were kind of discussing there. And to make your name, you got to get yourself seen on as a giftable person to some extent.
Let's chat a bit about the present day Smash Wrestling. You guys have now had a few shows at the Phoenix Concert Theater, which I think it's a great venue. I mean, this is a place I used to go to all the time in university, and now I'm watching wrestling
all
there.
Our wrestlers and staff and a lot of fans say that, man, I came here for this concert and that concert, and now I'm wrestling here. I'm watching a show here.
Oh, it was like the first time I walked in for your show back in June, I believe it was, and then looking up into the balcony where Martin Streak used to be up there on Saturday nights. How did the whole thing come together with the Phoenix?
Well, just both. We landed the Phoenix and the London Music Hall, which I don't know if you've seen, has a giant LED screen, which it really didn't sink in how cool having that on stage is. I went to the WWE house shows a month later, and I realized, I'm like, our TV screen's bigger than the house show screen. It may not be bigger than the Raw or SmackDown, but it's substantially bigger. And we landed these two around the same time. It was because we're in a double-edged sword. In order to get TV, we needed an upgrade in production. In order to get an upgrade in production and have those funds, such as corporate sponsors, we needed TV. So we did all our upgrades, and we grew our buzz. We got our reputation. We got the wrestlers to the right point. We got the crowds there. We upgraded this, and this in production. But eventually we got to a point that a small company like us, we can't suddenly just get $50,000 cameras or something, or get the kind of lighting equipment that we attach to the top of a ceiling of a venue and do it ourselves and carry it around. It's just going to be astronomical in expenses. But getting these venues that were very expensive was a challenge too. And sometimes it's a combination of being willing to spend more on venues, but it's also our reputation. It was nice to know that if people look us up or they ask friends that know wrestling, they're like, these guys are it. And that's really a big part of everything we do is our reputation, whether it's through through third parties or through what they look up online. Our reputation has really helped us lock a lot of deals. But between trying to land the TV deal with Fight Network and also, we know we're going to have potentially What Culture over, we're going to need the proper venue. We made our search a little more aggressive, and we landed both those venues in both those times. And it was, again, right time, right place, right scenario, maybe even a combination of a little bit of luck. But both venues have the right aesthetics. They have the right audio, lighting, video. And in addition, with the production, like the entranceway and the truss and the smoke and everything else we have combined, it just makes for an incredible atmosphere. And it really... it does help also with the perception, respectfully speaking, before if someone really didn't know much about the indies and they're coming for Bobby Lashley, or like this, company, Smash Wrestling, it's 1 or 2 hours away. They have Bobby Lashley. I'm going to give it a shot, but maybe it's a one-time thing. It's different between saying, and I'm not knocking our previous venue, but we're at a community center, and versus seeing these guys are at the Phoenix Concert Hall, they're at the London Music Hall. Like there adds a little bit of legitimacy to the independent perception that's out there.
Yeah, like, and for those like outside of Toronto, like the Phoenix Concert Theater is a place that hosts like major bands, major comedy acts. I mean, it's a prestige venue.
It's funny seeing their schedule sometimes, because we'll see our name and then we'll see like someone that is performing globally that anyone would know.
Yeah.
I can't think of names right now, but like let's say one day Drake's there, the next day we're there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pretty surreal to know that, but yeah, it just it was the right time. Again, everything that we've been working towards, I felt like we were on the cusp of transitioning for venues, for TV, for the international market. I mean, we were already there, but to really break out, and everything fell into place together, and really they all helped each other out. The venue, the TV, everything just worked itself out.
What is the goal now from going from a taping to turning that around? And tell us about the process now of like taking a show, editing it for television, and the turnaround time.
Well, it's something I didn't really think about ahead of time. And then as I was dabbing my fingers on, well, how do we book these shows? There was a real challenge, and I think we're going to find the right balance. So right now, it's short term because we already committed to booking our shows over the summer straight to Super Showdown 5 in August. So when we knew we had the TV deal, we couldn't unbook guys for 3 shows. And Super Showdown, as most people know, it's our WrestleMania, so a lot of storylines culminate there, and we can't adjust our storylines. So part of the reason I was debating that was because, well, now we're shooting for TV. Maybe live events have to be shot in a TV format. Maybe we're breaking it down to 3 mini shows for people, 3 matches, intermission, 3 matches, break, 3 matches. And now we have 3 TV tapings there. Or maybe we just do it first half, second half, but some guys wrestle on the second half again. Not everyone, but maybe 1 or 2 guys face again, because now there needs to be more frequency and appearances for TV purposes. If you're going to drag a storyline, and let's say someone shows on the June show, and then the next time you see him is on the July show, it might be 5-6 weeks apart between you see him, and really you can't carry storylines like that on TV. So that's one thing I decided. We're going to keep the schedule as it is until August, because we can't take away from the live event experience, and we are still trying to find our comfort zone of TV. So far, I think we've been editing very well. We've added extra content with we've updated some interviews and some promos just to make it flow better for TV and educate new fans to who they are, and not be presumptuous about everyone watching knows who everyone is, like our current fan base. But one thing I did not want to do was run the live shows like a full TV taping, because some fans out there don't like that. I'm not going to name some companies out there, but they find it goes a little slow, it goes a little longer. By the time it gets to the main event's not as hot, so a company may have to put them in the opener that's your main event for TV. And we're not in a rush to take those chances, but one thing we've always been known for is people say you guys have the greatest live event atmospheres, and you guys, your shows flow so well. And we don't want to disrupt that, because at the end of the day, not only do we still have to put value on the live event customer, but that's part of our reputation too. It goes beyond just how do we take care of these 300-400 people or so. It's how they respond at live events also affects the TV product. And that's something that people that have watched our on-demand service or our digital downloads, DVDs, have always said, that you guys have a crazy live experience. We'd love to be there. You can tell by watching it on camera that it's a great atmosphere, and we want to convey that to the live audience. So we're going to slowly transition, I think, from September to kind of meeting a halfway point, where we still maintain that level of live event atmosphere that we have, and but without fully doing a 180 and turning it into a TV taping kind of format. Maybe down the road, that's something we can dabble with, but I think it's just going to have to be a gradual transition.
When it comes to other promotions in Ontario, in the area, do you guys have is it like almost a friendly rivalry? Do you guys kind of clash heads? Because it's a very competitive market that's out there.
I'll be
sure.
very honest. I mean, the independents, no matter who wants to be politically correct, has a lot of politics, drama, and everyone seems like it's in the
There
DNA.
seems like there's tons.
Yeah, and sometimes it's merited. It is. And sometimes it's not. But it seems in a lot of people's DNA we have to go to war or screw those guys. But I saw how unhealthy that was, and not that I was trying to rival someone, but I said hypothetically, if someone does me wrong, which people have done wrong to my promotion's name or my name, what's the best way to get back to them? It's to do better than them. I mean, if I end up working with Progress, I end up bringing AJ Styles and Chris Hero as they're released, and I have 450 people at my show, and I have all this buzz, and I'm being covered by A and B, and the Young Bucks call us the PWG North of Canada. That is substantially better than me going online and bashing someone and say, hey, don't talk bad about me. That's why you will never catch me under the Sebastian Suave handle or under the Smash Wrestling handle bad-mouthing another company. It's I can bite my tongue, but I've never seen the benefit of doing that. And to be honest, that discipline has allowed me to never, it's non-existent for me to be bitter or rivalrous with another company. I think, like you mentioned, no matter what, there has to be a healthy competition, no matter what. And it's not because you want to have healthy competition or you think it's beneficial. It's just there. You're in the same market, doing the same product, and your customer base is the same one. If Coke and Pepsi have headquarters in the same town and they're heavily marketing to that same audience, and some fans are bouncing between the two, it's just predetermined that there's a healthy rivalry there. Mm-hmm. Now the discipline is to keep it a healthy rivalry and not get bitter if someone does better than you, or there's bound to be opportunities where there's a conflict. Someone gets released from the WWE like Austin Aries. Do you get the guy first, or does the other guy get first? Did the talent prioritize you or them? You brought a guy into the market, and that wrestler is an independent contractor. He has the right to go wherever he wants. You've invested in him, and guess what? Now maybe the other company has shown interest because that guy contacted the company. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. It's just how you react to these things. Like I said, for me, it's always been about, I can't think of one company that I'm genuinely at war with or I dislike. And one thing I always made sure to do, and it wasn't a political thing, it's always meet up with the promoters. There's some that I'm friends with actually in the market. Yeah. Whether we're in direct competition on other ones, it's about being a guest at their show or vice versa, or having a coffee with them one day just to talk shop. And I think that goes a long way. It's not me trying to gain anything. It sets a standard for the future. Hey, we got together, we had coffee. Maybe 6 months down the road when there's a reason where you're outshining me or I'm outshining you, no one's going to end up being bitter or do anything stupid because we set a standard that we're respectful peers. And that's how I look at it. But a lot in wrestling, it's, at least in my career as a wrestler and as a promoter, I learned more from seeing other people's flaws than other people's successes. Yeah. Because it's often like, I don't want to be that guy. I saw how much, I can't tell you how many times you see a promoter wrestler do something. Social media is a dangerous tool as much as it is a beneficial one. I see someone go on a rant and maybe they're heated and they feel, they got slighted. But going on like a child, like on social media and ranting and shaming someone's name is not the way to go about it. And for me, it's always, there's that discipline to it. And I think that's a key that I think goes under the radar for a lot of people. It's they don't understand what you don't do is just as important as what you do.
We'll wind this down because I do want to ask about the fact that for those that may be not familiar, I mean, in addition to running all the stuff with Smash, you're now doing the television, you're still performing on the shows, and I wanted to just get your thoughts on the current character you're playing, which is very unique with the sponsors and working with Kingdom James, who is this guy is a tremendous talker, and I really enjoy the two of you together.
No. It was a interesting fallout. I'll be very honest, not to ramble on too long, but I hit a point in my career where being a promoter really affected me as a wrestler, and it was actually very mentally stressful, and it was very borderline depressing. Wow. Between being a promoter, every time it came, do I go to the gym or do I put more hours in promoting? Because I was working 70 hours a week in order to try to make this something I can live off, in order to take this company to the next level. And I was always, I'm going to promote. Maybe I'll gym later tonight, or I didn't have time to gym. So, and at the same time, I became a father, and you can't ignore a child. And the combination of having a job, having this full-time together, or eventually transitioning to this full-time, and being a father and trying to hit the gym and doing shows on the weekend, just not for Smash, but for other companies as a wrestler myself, there was always something
Sounds
suffering.
crazy.
There was always something suffering. And then also, being a family man, you got to spend time with your family too. There was always, if I was thriving on one or two things, something else was suffering. Or if I tried to go for a balance of everything, nothing was shining out. So it got really stressful, and my physique took a hit, and while other wrestlers are spending all week thinking about how to be creative or watching GIFs or matches, I had time promoting. So Smash was growing, and Smash was a result of the fruits of my labor, but me as a wrestler was suffering, and this is my brand. This is what I see as the top company in Canada. We have an international audience, and I have to keep up to par with that. And a hard part of it too was I was always paranoid not to expose myself as a promoter, worrying that that'd be a conflict of interest with fans, and I took that to such an extreme that it actually hurt how I used myself. I would never, I wouldn't say push myself, but I wouldn't even give myself a fair shake.
Yeah.
And I suffered in the ring as a result of it. So I gave myself that fresh reset where...
and you turned this into a big story, which culminates with this John Greed match.
Yeah, so
this started last September, correct?
Yeah, so in September when we had Progress here, I kind of used the real angle. Hey, I trained and spent 3 months with Jack Gallagher in Japan. I was scheduled to face him, and I said, I'm not up to the level I want to be. I'm holding you back. I need to take some time off. And I did take 3 to 4 months off. I did 1 or 2 shows where just try to get sharp and try some new things in a show or a market that I don't think anyone would see me. And I took that time off until I found the right gimmick. And at times I'm like, I don't have it. How long is this going to take? But then one day I saw wrestlers always have, it's nothing original, but you see wrestlers have a sponsorship with a clothing line. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, well, but what you don't see is what if they took this to a whole level? It's their character. They're a sponsored athlete. And I also knew that I wanted a manager because I feel, you hear it all the time, but male managers in wrestling are so underutilized.
Sure.
And I just didn't want to use one. I wanted to truly use them differently. And this is where I can throw my opponent out the ring, and my manager gets on the mic. He's like, ladies and gentlemen, we have to go to a brief commercial break. And on the screen is there me doing a cheesy infomercial. Yeah. As I threw my opponent out the ring, can't throw your garbage out the ring like I just did. Well, check out my friends. It's so fresh, so clean, cleaning services. And you can. And then I started coming with all these ideas of, in your video entranceway, there's a corner there that says sponsors here, and we have an actual website, sponsorsuave.com, and I just couldn't find a manager, and then it just hit me, Kingdom. He's one of the greatest talkers, and I knew he can adjust from he has still been that guy who can be very raw and get edgy and get the crowd riled up. But now he's also got to be a little cheese with me, He says, put your money behind a real winner, and we do the thumbs up props to each other, and we smile and we act cheese, and it's a right balance. And it was really rewarding the first night I came back and did it, because without trying to ask people for feedback, I had wrestlers who weren't even on the show who were watching the crowd run to the backstage before I even got to the locker room. That was amazing. That was so cool. Jimmy Corder is telling me that was awesome. Just getting a positive feedback, and I've been holding back on a lot of ideas because I want this character to gradually develop per show and not, blow my load right off the get-go with all these ideas.
Well, it's such an organic way to have advertisers within the body of the show. Like, that's something, there's times WWE, it's painful some of the times they force in ad reads or just anything like that. This is something now that is easily navigates itself to the television show, that if you can get some sponsors, if they sell ad sales, I mean, this is a natural way to put it into the program where your audience takes it as part of the show. Yeah,
the logos go on my gimmicks, the logos go on my entrance video, the logos go on the Sponsor Suave website. And there's commercials mid-match, before the match. The sponsors can be themed to my opponent. If I have an overweight opponent, I can do a Weight Watchers. But the challenge of it is I've been wanting to gradually grow where there will be bigger and corporate sponsors, and they will be properly themed. But again, it's a development of letting this thing build, right? And so people can see those, because one thing I've noticed in-ring performance-wise, whether it's myself or someone else, when I go to a new market, everyone will rave about me, or let's say like my former tag partner John Greed, but I'm not saying they're not raving in our market. I'm like, well, why did when we went to Quebec, they thought he was the greatest thing because he did a frog splash as a giant 350-pound man, and he had the agility to do these spinning back elbows off the ropes. But that's because I'm like, this market has never seen that. Our audience is used to it, and that was one thing with me is there's some great stuff I did, but just not the moves you do, but your style and your presentation and your entrance and your character. It always has to grow and evolve in front of the audiences that are familiar with you. You can be a 6-star wrestler, but then it's like, what's next?
Right.
What have you done for me lately? You still have to grow and be fresh and innovative. And, and that's a great thing. Everyone knows Kenny Omega is one of the greatest performers right now alive. But then he goes out there and pushes the envelope. He exceeded his own expectations in the eyes of the fans. And whether it's with an in-ring performance or storytelling or a character or your promos, even your attire, just keep evolving. And this is what's made this character very fun. But yeah, it's one of the challenges still today, even though I've been on the right track and I've been happier than ever, is being a promoter and a booker and a talent and dabbing my fingers in other parts of the show makes it so hard to put focus on my match. There's times, that's why I always used to do tag team wrestling, because both my former tag partners always laughed. I go in, our opponents are like, when he's coming back, it's like, don't worry, I know what he does, because they're used to it. They're like, he knows we'll fill it in, and then he'll come back and you're like, all right guys, what do I need to know? Because sometimes you just get dragged away. There's media that needs to meet with you, or there's a situation and your floor manager is saying, hey, I need your approval, what do we do about this? And even now we do more promos than ever on event days because we're filming for TV, for on demand, for our social media, and I gotta sometimes oversee it or give it a green light. But that's where luckily I've never been a micromanager. I put faith in other people on our team, but they also got to earn that trust, and that's where I think I'm slowly getting in a better position. Is there are guys I can just give them a list, they'll take care of it, and after the show we'll go over it. So. But it's still a challenge to do all that. I mean, there was the one show where I didn't have to wrestle enough, but I was there to promote it, and I couldn't believe how much stress-free it was. I can take my time. Like, I got all the time in the world. There's no conflict here. I forgot what this felt like.
Well, you've got a great team around you. I've never had a bad experience. It's just a great group of guys and women as well that are part of that Smash team. And I want to let you chat about Super Showdown. It's going down Sunday, August the 13th at the aforementioned Phoenix Concert Theater, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, so it's our biggest show of the year, and it's always hard to set the bar, but I think there's a lot there that's truly exciting for our current fan base and new fans. So we have Bobby Lashley versus Mike Bailey in a special attraction match. It
sounds like a really fun match.
Yeah, and the one goal of this match was truly be different. When people see Bobby Lashley, they may want to go there strictly for an autograph because they haven't seen him live in a long time, or they may want to go see him perform. But how do you cater to, and again, not judging, but there are different types of fans, rightfully so. It's different flavors like a circus, right? So we have some fans that are gonna maybe want to watch a more WWE style of Bobby Lashley, but some people may want to see the Mike Bailey style, right? And here's where I think they both will mesh well, because anyone who knows Mike Bailey knows his credibility and his background and his martial arts, and it's going to be a true David and Goliath match. And this is where it's really intriguing, where it's a mesh of styles that I don't think people have seen in a while. It's really, and that's what it is. As soon as we mentioned it, we just saw down our social media just comments nonstop. We're scrolling forever, and every comment was consistent with holy hell, this is truly different. I've never seen a match like this. Oh, this is going to be so different. And they were making remarks along the lines that we were hoping. It's just not, whoa, great draw. It was more about people were very interested about the style clash. And our champion Tyson Dukes has truly been the face of our company, an ambassador without us asking. And for him to finally become champ last year and it was the first time we had a Canadian champ too, which was exciting. And now he's going up against Mark Haskins, who is one of the most hot trending guys out of the UK for the last year or two. And when he became our champion, he became Progress champion around the same time, and he started winning all these other belts. So he was hitting his strides, and unfortunately had a bit of a neck injury, and he had to drop the title. And now he came back and he won the gold tournament, which essentially it's look at gold as like Royal Rumble. The winner gets a title shot at the big show, which is Super Showdown for us. So he won a 10-man tournament, and now he's fighting the champion for the belt he never lost. And that's going to be a very technical and athletic match that people are looking forward to. We have a chairs match and a tag team tables match on the show. We don't overdo the stipulation and gimmick match just too much, but here we have Super Smash Bros. And TDT, arguably two of the best Canadian tag teams out there. We have Tarek, who has truly been a stalwart, a homegrown star that is well known and started through us, and his growth and his transition from Alex Vega to Tarek with that big storyline with ending Matt Cross's streak and his being our first ever champion really catapulted him. So to our audience, he's the it guy, and he's going up against this up-and-comer Kevin Blackwood, which no one has heard of, but he was a new guy to our locker room, and Tarek's the guy who's kind of giving him a hard time about welcome to the big leagues. And now they got a chairs match, and the tag team match has a tables match, and we've built the story with Kevin Blackwood and Tarek real well, and people will see it on TV. You have two former tag teams against each other, and they're really two different stories. You have the well-known machines of Braxton Sutter from Impact Wrestling and Mike Rollins, a team that was developed here, is truly unique here, and the fans have created the chance to like oil up for them here, and they're fan favorites. They were heels that have organically become fan favorites, and their storyline is two tag teams, a tag team that keeps making errors and having a dysfunction in-house. And meanwhile, you have myself and John Greed, who we didn't go that route. We didn't break apart and try to turn on each other and miscommunicate. I walked away. I came back. I never challenged them. I never jumped them. We happened to get put against each other in the goal tournament. And the conflict for us was my manager, where I'm buying to everything Kingdom James has said since my return. He's made me a star, but he's making fun of my former tag partner, but I'm like, hey, not that guy. He's my friend. And he's like, no, he's your opponent. And he helps me cheat, and I get frustrated. I'm like, I didn't want you to help me there. And eventually I actually turned on Greed. And so that's, it's not your cliche story of two tag team partners turning on each other. It's organically grown. It's something different. So we have a lot of high profile matches in-house and out of house. I believe we also have Brent Banks there, who's going to be facing Lewis Linden. I know I'm missing another big match over there, but yeah, it's just, what I like about Toronto is we've always brought the best from Montreal. We've brought the best out of Ottawa and Buffalo and Cleveland and all over Ontario and Philly, and we've still flown in people. And just like you see with Bobby Lashley and some of the guys we brought out of Japan or Mexico or UK, we truly provide a unique experience. And that's something I learned a long time ago. I was at a seminar with the head of the NFL Canada, and he's like, we don't sell football, we sell the ultimate fan experience. So everything from the atmosphere, the venue, to, for him, it was like the halftime show, to everything else, and the VIP perks. So I think we do a really good job of giving people a valued experience, and this show will truly, if there's one show that people want to give a shot, this one's it. And we expect a big turnout, and we expect a great filmed product for TV with Fight Network.
Well, you can get all the information up at smash-wrestling.com. Once again, Super Showdown is going down Sunday, August the 13th, and you can catch Smash Wrestling every Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, immediately following Impact Wrestling. And Sebastian, I just want to thank you so much for coming in today.
Likewise. I feel like we can always talk for like 10 hours about
I know. I think we could definitely go much longer, but all the best
I really appreciate
Super Showdown, and I'm sure we'll be doing this again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you.